What's happening, guys, and welcome to the new studio. I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys lately on codes and labels. That can be a very confusing thing with FBA in terms of GTINs or UPCs. And so I wanted to make this video, which is going to break down in the process, in the same steps as you're actually going to list and ship to Amazon. I'm going to break down the codes that you're going to need at each stage. Some of them are just codes or even just digital codes, while others are actually physical labels you're going to want to print out and either put on products or put on cardboard boxes that ship your products. We're going to go through all of this today. Now, the very first thing you're going to do is actually list your product on Amazon. But to do that, you actually need a code. This brings us to code number 1, which is GTIN, which stands for Global Trade Identification Number. Now, GTINs are global. They're going to identify your product globally on or off of Amazon. And what a GTIN actually does is it links a physical product back to your company and to your brand. Now, there are various types of GTINs. The most common are UPCs, which you've definitely heard of, and EANs. Those are the most common two types, but there are others. Now, every GTIN has certain things within that code. We're going to just use a UPC as an example here on screen. And you can see that every GTIN has a 6 to 10 digit company prefix. Now, that is a prefix unique to you as a company. When you sign up on a website, on a certain retailer, which we'll get to in a second, but when you do that, these codes are identified specifically to you based on that company prefix. And then the rest of the code identifies the product with a specific product number, and then there's a check digit. Now, there are various retailers which offer GTIN codes. There might be UPCs or EANs, etc. But the most reputable one is GS1, and that's the website I recommend you use. Every region has their own GS1 office, and wherever you're based, whichever region you sign up for, is going to determine whether you get a UPC or an EAN, but remember, they're all GTINs. Now, you'll be happy to hear that GS1 now allows you to buy one code. So you don't have to buy a pack of 10. If you just have, say, one product, you're just starting, you can actually buy an individual code from them now, which is a lot more cost effective. And the process for this is quite simple. You're going to sign up on GS1 using your company details. Then you're going to purchase a code from them, and then you're going to be able to input for that code specific details. So you're going to actually put in there your product name. It could actually be your Amazon title. You're going to put in there your brand name, your manufacturer part number. Make sure these align with what you're actually going to put in on Amazon later when you list the product. But this way, you actually have those product details verifiable on the GS1 website. That code can talk to Amazon and verify all the details you put in on Amazon. Now, again, there are different types of GTINs, but they're all globally accepted. They're all accepted by Amazon. As you can see in this drop-down list, they accept all these different codes, and many of those are just different types of GTINs. Now, the first type of GTIN is an EAN, and this stands for European Article Number, but it's also known as an International Article Number. Now, if you live in Europe or you use the GS1 Europe site, then you are probably going to get this type of GTIN. You're going to get an EAN, and that's going to be perfect for adding products to Amazon. An EAN is also called a GTIN 13, and that's because it actually has 13 digits within its code. And the second type of GTIN is a UPC. This is Universal Product Code, and if you live in the US, this is probably the code you're going to get from GS1. Now, UPCs are also called GTIN 12s. Again, that's because it has 12 digits within that code. UPCs are definitely the most common ones, and they're definitely spoken of the most. But that's actually given rise to some confusion where UPC, the term UPC, which is just a type of GTIN, is being used synonymously with GTIN. UPC is just one type of GTIN, so just keep that in mind. And again, UPC is absolutely perfect for adding products to any Amazon marketplace. So now that you have your code, which describes your exact product and is linked to your brand and company, you can actually add this to Amazon. So you're going to add a product to Amazon, and this is going to create your listing. And when you do this during the process, drop in the matching details, your product name, your manufacturer part number, the brand name, and then in product ID, that is where you're going to drop in your GTIN. That is your product ID for this listing. Now, when you do that, as you can see here, you can actually select what type of GTIN that is. And if you have an issue, let's say you actually have UPCs and it won't accept UPC, then you can just put GTIN, because remember, GTIN covers all of them, and Amazon will auto detect which type of GTIN you have. And this brings us to our next code, which is ASIN, ASIN. And this stands for Amazon Standard Identification Number. Remember, you just created a listing. So how is Amazon going to identify that listing? Well, they assign it an ASIN. Every unique listing on the platform has a unique ASIN. And it's important to remember, an ASIN identifies a listing. It does not identify an actual product, because remember, one listing could have 3 variation products on it. So an ASIN identifies that overall listing, not the individual products within it. And that ASIN code obviously allows Amazon to easily track that listing, but it also allows them to easily transfer that listing across accounts or across marketplaces if needed. So then what about the actual products? Well, that brings us to our next code, which is SKU, SKU, and this stands for Stock Keeping Unit. A SKU on Amazon identifies an individual unique product sold through one fulfillment channel. So one listing that has 3 FBA variations is going to have 3 SKUs. But remember, this is a stock keeping unit. And that also means if you use 2 fulfillment channels, let's say you use FBM and FBA for one item, which is often the case, each of those fulfillment channels has to have its own stock keeping unit. So if you do that, FBM, FBA, one item, each fulfillment channel, each listing will have its own SKU. And so that's how Amazon uses SKUs to track the inventory for every single product on their platform. So now you've added your product to Amazon, all the codes are assigned, and you're ready to actually ship to the fulfillment center. But how is Amazon going to know what inventory is for what listing? Well, this brings us to our next code, which is FNSKU. So an FNSKU, or a Fulfillment Network Stock Keeping Unit. So these are our fulfillment network SKUs. In other words, our FBA SKUs, and they're only for FBA items. And as you can see on screen here, each FNSKU contains the actual FNSKU barcode and number, the product title, and the product condition. So it might say new at the bottom there. But unlike the prior codes, these ones actually have to be printed out and physically affixed to products. And that is how Amazon is going to match this physical inventory with physical FNSKUs to digital listings and digital SKUs. So if a customer buys a specific SKU on Amazon, then Amazon knows exactly which FNSKU to send out to that customer. And these allow Amazon to determine how much inventory is still available for any FBA item. They can use these FNSKUs because those are on the products in the warehouse. They can tell exactly how much is still available for any FBA listing. So you've got to get these FNSKUs and you've got to get them on your products. So the easiest way to do this is as follows. You're going to go over to Manage Inventory and locate the relevant listing. Then click that Edit drop-down menu next to the listing and you're going to choose Print Item Labels. It's going to pop up in a window and you're going to download that code. Then you want to send that code to your supplier. And a pro tip here is I would also ask the supplier to add Made in China or Made in Vietnam or wherever it's actually made. ask them to put made in country at the bottom of this FNSKU. And then you're going to ask your supplier to print these labels out and affix them to every individual unit. So if you have 300 units of inventory for one FBA item, you are actually going to have 300 FNSKU labels printed out and one affixed to each of those products. Sellers also often confuse this one. UPCs are not the ones that go onto your products. FNSKUs, those are the ones that go onto your FBA items. So now your supplier has labeled the products and you're ready to ship them to the fulfillment center. At this point, you're actually going to create a shipping plan on Seller Central. And there's a video up here on exactly how to do that. But during this shipping plan, you are going to get another label. And this is your shipment label. Now, the shipment label is the one that you want to have your supplier actually affix to the big cardboard boxes. Remember, you're going to have cardboard boxes, often called cartons, that are going to hold your individual units inside of them. The shipment label needs to go on every one of those big cardboard boxes. And as you can see on screen here, this label shows the ship from address, the ship to address, the carton's weight, the number of cartons in the shipment. So each of these labels is going to say 1 of 6. Let's say you're sending 6 cardboard boxes. The first one will say 1 of 6. The second one will say 2 of 6. And so on, all the way up to 6 of 6. And it's also going to give Amazon info on whether this is a case packed shipment, which is going to say single SKU, or if it's an individual product shipment, in which case it will say assorted SKUs. So it just gives them info on that box and what's inside of that box. And all of that's going to help Amazon easily receive your inventory into the fulfillment center and process it into your available inventory. So when you're actually creating that shipping plan, you're going to put in details like the weight of your cartons, the size of your cartons, the number of cartons, and the number of units in each carton. And all of that is going to help Amazon produce this shipment label. And in a later step of the shipping plan, you are going to see a button which says print box labels. That is exactly how you're going to get your shipment labels. Now, when you click on that, you are going to see a number of labels. If you have put in there in the details in the shipping plan that you're sending 6 cartons, you are going to see that you have 6 shipment labels. Now, each of these is unique. You can see this is 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6. And so you need to send them all onto your supplier and ensure the supplier prints all of them because they are unique and they need to put 1 of 6 on the first box, 2 of 6 on the second box, and so on. And the last thing here is that these labels should not cover the seams of the box. So now your shipment is ready to go, but there is one more label. This is the freight forwarder label. Now the freight forwarder is also going to have their own label, and these also, of course, have to go onto those carton boxes. Now a freight forwarder is always going to label that shipment before they ship it. Now they may do that at pickup, or they may actually send that onto your supplier beforehand to be labeled so they can pick those goods up quickly. Or if you're using your supplier also to ship the goods for you, if they're doing manufacturing and shipping for you, and that's part of your arrangement with them, then they're going to ensure that that freight forwarding label is also on the boxes. But this is why you're often going to see cartons that look like this, where on one side of the seam, you've got your FBA shipment label, and on the other side of the seam, you have your freight forwarder label. And now your shipment is ready to be sent and received by Amazon. And so once you've actually shipped this off to Amazon, you can go back into your shipments in Seller Central and you can click Mark as Shipped. Then you can also click the like button. Please let me know below, which of these codes did you find most confusing? Remember to subscribe below, and if you haven't already, check out this little join button down here. You can learn a bit more about our YouTube membership. But until next time, I hope you're all keeping really well, and I will see you in the next video.